Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar walked into the theater of Pompey on March 15th, 44 BCE, expecting a regular Senate meeting. Instead, a group of senators led by Brutus and Cassius surrounded him and stabbed him 23 times. The Roman dictator collapsed at the base of Pompey's statue, bleeding out from multiple wounds. Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon ended up on St. Helena, a tiny speck of land in the middle of the Atlantic after Waterloo crushed his comeback. He died there in 1821, officially from stomach cancer. But here's where it gets interesting. Traces of arsenic showed up in his hair samples later, so some historians think he was actually poisoned. Benito Mussolini. Mussolini tried to escape to Switzerland in April 1945, disguised in a German coat and helmet. Communist partisans recognized him anyway, pulled him out of a convoy, and shot him the next day. His body ended up hanging upside down from a gas station in Milan, strung up by the ankles alongside his mistress for crowds to spit on and pelt with stones. Adolf Hitler. In late April 1945, with Soviet troops just blocks away from his bunker in Berlin, Adolf Hitler made the decision not to be taken alive. Inside the bunker, he took steps to ensure his life would end on his own terms. Afterward, his staff carried his body upstairs and burned it in the garden, following the plan he had left behind. Joseph Stalin. Stalin collapsed at his dacha outside Moscow on March 1st, 1953. He'd been meeting with his inner circle the night before, and by the time guards found him on the floor, hours had passed. He died 4 days later, but some historians think Beria or another lieutenant might have slipped him warfarin to avoid being purged next. Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong died in 1976 from natural causes after a series of heart attacks finally did him in. He'd been falling apart for years. Parkinson's disease made him shake and lose control of his movements, while amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS, slowly destroyed his motor neurons and weakened his muscles until his body just gave out. Francisco Franco. Franco ruled Spain for nearly 40 years before his body started shutting down in 1975. The 82-year-old dictator went through multiple surgeries in his final weeks as doctors desperately tried to keep him alive on life support. His heart finally gave out after a series of medical crises that his aging body just couldn't recover from. Pol Pot. Pol Pot died in his jungle hideout in 1998, officially from heart failure in his sleep. He was 73 and under house arrest by his own former comrades at the time. Some people think he took poison to avoid being handed over to an international tribunal, while others suspect he was quietly killed to prevent a messy trial that could expose too many secrets. Idi Amin. Idi Amin ruled Uganda from 1971 to 1979 and killed somewhere between 100,000 and 500,000 people during that time. After being overthrown, he fled to Libya and then Saudi Arabia, where he lived comfortably in a villa in Jeddah. He spent over 20 years there playing accordion and swimming before dying of kidney failure in 2003. No trial, no prison, no consequences whatsoever. Nicolae Ceausescu. Nicolae Ceausescu ruled Romania with an iron fist for decades, but when the 1989 revolution came, he and his wife Elena tried to flee and failed. They were captured, put through a quick show trial on Christmas Day of all days, and then taken to a courtyard in a military barracks where a firing squad shot them both dead within minutes of the verdict. Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein ruled Iraq for decades before U.S. forces found him hiding in an underground spider hole in 2003. He went on trial for crimes against humanity, including ordering mass killings and using chemical weapons against his own people. The trial lasted 3 years. In 2006, he was executed by hanging in Baghdad, with the execution filmed on a cell phone that later leaked online. Muammar Gaddafi. Gaddafi ruled Libya for 42 years before rebel forces caught him hiding in a drainage pipe in Sirte in October 2011. They dragged him out, beat him severely, and sodomized him with a bayonet while shouting and filming on cell phones. He was shot multiple times during the chaos. The graphic footage spread across the internet within hours, showing the dictator bleeding and begging before he died. Ferdinand Marcos. Ferdinand Marcos ruled the Philippines for over 20 years before the People Power Revolution forced him out in 1986. He fled to Hawaii with his family, and the US government made sure he stayed there. He spent 3 years in exile, his health declining until his organs gave out in 1989. The Aquino government refused to let him come home even to die. Rafael Trujillo. Rafael Trujillo ruled the Dominican Republic for over 30 years with an iron fist before his luck ran out in 1961. A group of conspirators, backed by the CIA, ambushed his car on a highway outside the capital. They pumped over 30 rounds into him, using weapons the United States had supplied specifically for the job. His 3 decades of brutality ended on that roadside. Augusto Pinochet ran Chile as a military dictator from 1973 to 1990, ordering the torture and murder of thousands of political opponents. After stepping down, he dodged prosecution for years using legal tricks and claims of poor health. He died in 2006 from heart complications while under house arrest. He never saw the inside of a prison cell despite being charged with human rights violations. Kim Il-sung. Kim Il-sung died in 1994 from a sudden heart attack at age 82. When the news broke, North Korea went into full national mourning, with citizens reportedly weeping in the streets and collapsing from grief. After his death, he was declared the eternal president, meaning he technically still holds the title even though he's been dead for decades. Power passed to his son, Kim Jong-il, keeping it in the family. Slobodan Milosevic was the Serbian president who kicked off the Yugoslav wars in the 90s, leading to widespread ethnic cleansing and mass killings across the former Yugoslavia. He got arrested in 2001 and sent to The Hague to face charges of genocide and crimes against humanity. The trial dragged on for years, but he never got a verdict because he died of a heart attack in his cell in 2006. Fidel Castro ran Cuba for nearly 50 years before handing power to his brother Raul in 2008 when his health started failing. The guy survived countless assassination attempts by the CIA. Estimates range from dozens to over 600 depending on how you count them, but in the end, he just got old. He died in 2016 at 90, outlasting 10 American presidents who tried to get rid of him. Anastasio Somoza ruled Nicaragua until the Sandinistas kicked him out in 1979. He escaped to Paraguay, thinking he'd be safe there. In 1980, an Argentine left-wing guerrilla group tracked him down and hit his car with a rocket-propelled grenade, then finished the job with automatic weapons. The attack was brutal and effective. He didn't survive it. Omar al-Bashir ran Sudan for 3 decades before his own military turned on him in 2019. Massive street protests made his position untenable, and instead of ordering a crackdown that might spark civil war, the generals arrested him. He's been sitting in a Sudanese prison ever since, wanted by the International Criminal Court for genocide in Darfur, but Sudan won't hand him over. François Papa Doc Duvalier ran Haiti for 14 years through a private militia called the Tonton Macoute that tortured and killed his enemies. Despite all that power and brutality, he died in his bed from heart disease and diabetes in 1971. He passed the presidency to his 19-year-old son, Jean-Claude, who people called Baby Doc. Natural causes got him before anyone else could.